Hi everybody, welcome back. Now that we have had a chance to explore the text tool and learn how to add some basic journaling to our layouts, we're going to explore a little bit more about how we can use the text tool to add some creativity to our pictures. And that is one of the great things about Photoshop, is that we can really use the tools inside Photoshop to add creativity and personality to our layouts. We are first going to start by looking at an individual picture, and I will show you how you can add some basic text to it and also some decorative elements to kind of spice it up a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is to get out my photo, and I'm going to go up to File and Open. Or if you're on a Mac, you can do the hotkey command of Command and O, or on Windows it's Control and O, and navigate to where you have the photo that you want to open and click on it. And this is a picture of my 6-year-old little boy on his birthday. So I'm just going to add a little banner over here and a little bit of text. Down below there are some links to download some different fonts from dafont.com. One thing I wanted to point out with the KG arrows and the KG frames, in your downloads folder, wherever you downloaded those fonts before you installed them, they came with a PDF map. And if you click on those and open them and look at the PDFs, it gives you a map of what each character will do. So if I were to type A, I would get this little banner. If I were to type L, I would get this cupcake. So these are helpful little tools for you as you're adding your decorative elements to your pictures. Okay, I'm going to close this window down and I'm going to go back to my Elements editor. I'm going to click on my text tool and I'm going to set my options. I want the horizontal type tool, and in my font selector I'm going to do KG Flavor and Frames 6. So to get there, all you need to do is to click down and start typing KG Flavor, and when you see it, click on it. The size we're going to set to 602. And our color we're going to set to black by clicking on this color wheel right here. And down here in the hex color code, we're going to put in 6 zeros. And click OK. Now we're going to click down to create a cursor, and we're going to type a capital L. And then we're going to click on the green check mark to commit. Now it automatically switched us back to our move tool, which is what we want. So we're going to click on our banner that we just created and move it into place. Now I have this cute little banner up in the left hand corner of my picture, but I want to add some text to it. So to do that, I'm going to make another layer of text, and I'm going to click on the text tool, or I'm going to type the letter T, and I'm going to click down on my picture to make a cursor, and this will automatically make a new layer of text over here in the layers panel. Down here in the options, I want to set my options to horizontal type tool. I'm going to change my font to the Christina font, so I'm going to start typing Christina and click on it. The color, I want it black still. The size I'm going to set to 124 and click down again, and I'm going to type birthday boy, and I'm going to click on this green arrow to commit my changes. Now with this move tool selected, I'm going to click and drag it up to my banner, and then I'm going to use my arrow keys to kind of nudge it into position. Now a little trick I want to show you, if you're having a hard time grabbing the text and moving it around, one thing you can do is to click on the layer of type in the layers panel, make sure it's highlighted, and hold your command or your control key. And when you do that, you'll notice down here in your options for your move tool, it toggles that auto select layer off, and it allows you to grab that layer and move it into place a little bit easier. And that's it. I'm all done with this picture. It's just a little bit of creativity that I've added to this picture, and I can save it as it is right now, and I can send it to the printer and have it printed as a 4x6 if I want to use it on a physical Project Life layout, or I can save it and add it to a digital template. So there are lots of options that we have here with this. Next up, I'm going to show you how you can do the same thing on pictures that are already in a layout. So I'm going to close this down, and I'm going to open up a layout that I have already started. Now this is the Design A template, and you'll notice that I've already put all of my pictures in to the clipping masks. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add some text to these photos. I'm going to start with this picture up here in the top left-hand corner. I'm going to click on it so it selects that layer, and I'm going to zoom in by doing the Command and plus key together so that I can really see. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to look for my custom shape tool. Now it's grouped with the rectangle tool and this star tool and some other tools. So if you don't see it over here, it's probably grouped behind something. So the hotkey command for that is the letter U. So I clicked on my rectangle and I'm going to switch over here to this custom shapes tool. In the shape selector up here, I'm going to go down to signs, and I'm going to use this octagon shape. So I'm going to click on that. The color I'm going to set to white, so click on the color pinwheel down here, and in the hex code you're going to type in 6 letter Fs to get pure white. Now over here I have my picture selected, so that means that when I draw my shape's going to come right over this layer. So I'm going to click down and hold the shift key so that it constrains my proportions and draw my shape. And I just let go of the shift key when I'm done drawing. Now I'm going to select my move tool, and I'm going to move this into place. So I'm not actually going to use my whole octagon, I'm just going to use a portion of it. So I'm going to move it up here. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to clip this in to my rectangle. So you can actually clip more than one thing into a shape. So I have over here my rectangle that I have my picture clipped into, but I'm also going to create a clipping mask with this shape that I just created. So to do that, I'm going to click on my shape layer, and it's the same process as before when we added photos and cards. I'm going to hover my mouse in between these two lines. I'm going to do Option and then click to create my clipping mask. And if you're on Windows, that would be Alt and click. And now I have this shape clipped into this mask right here. Now one thing that you can do and play around with is the opacity of different layers. And I'm going to do that by selecting my shape layer down here and coming up to opacity, and I'm going to dial this opacity down to about 75%. And you'll see that some of my picture is starting to show through up here, which is the look I'm going for. Now the reason that I drew this shape is it's going to serve as a background to my date. So over here in the layers panel, I want to make sure that my shape layer is selected so that my next layer of type will come right over the top of it. Over here in the tool selector, I want to select the text tool, or I can type the letter T. In the font selector, I'm choosing the Christina font. For the color, I'm going to switch it to black by clicking on the color wheel and typing in 6 O's and clicking OK. For the size, I'm going to set it to about 22. And then I'm going to click down to create my cursor, and I'm going to type in my date. After I've typed it, I will check the green check mark to commit. With the Move tool selected, I will click and drag this into place. Now if you need to, you can click on one of these transform handles and resize your date a little bit if you need to. And then you can also use your arrow keys to nudge the date into position. So you can zoom back out and take a look at what that looks like. Now I'm going to add some decorative elements to this picture in the top right hand corner. So I'm going to zoom back in by doing Command and plus or Control and plus if you're on Windows. And I'm going to click on this photo so that I make sure that my next layers come in right above it. And I'm going to select my text tool or type the letter T. And I'm going to click down to create a cursor. And in my tool options, I'm going to switch to the KG arrows. So start typing that, and when you see it pop up, you can just click on it. For the color, I'm going to set it to white. So again, we're going to click on this little color wheel and change it to pure white by typing 6 letter Fs. Click OK. Now for the size, we're going to set it to 155. And now I'm going to click down again. Now this KG Arrows is a dingbat font, so when I type in a letter, it's actually going to give me a decorative element. So I'm going to type in a lowercase k, and then I'm going to check the check mark to commit, and with the Move tool, I'm going to bring it over on my photo. Now on this particular arrow, I don't really want these arrows right here, so I'm going to erase them. Now to do that first, I have to simplify my layer. So I'm going to click on my type layer over here in the layers palette. I'm going to right click on it and then choose simplify layer, and that allows me to edit this. Now to get rid of a portion that I don't want, I'm going to come over here to the tool selector and choose the eraser tool, or you can type the letter E. And down here where it says brush, I just want to make sure that I have some sort of hard round brush that I can use to erase. Now it might be hard to see your brush when you first select it, so you can use your bracket keys to make your brush bigger, or you can use the left bracket key to make it smaller. So once I have the size I want, all I need to do is just click down, and it will just erase where I click on the layer I have selected. So you'll notice that it's not erasing any of my picture, it's just erasing part of this arrow that I don't want. And when I'm done erasing, I'll switch back over to the Move tool. Add one more decorative element to this picture. So I'm going to make sure that my letter K layer over here, that's my arrow layer, is selected. I'm going to choose my text tool or type the letter T, and down here in the font selector, I'm going to start typing hipster icons, because that's the font that we're going to use. And our color is still going to be white. We're going to set this size to 76. And then we're going to click down to create a cursor. Now this hipster icon font has some different bikes in it, and that's why I chose it for this particular layout. So I'm going to type a lowercase s to get the bike that I want, and click on the green check mark to commit. Now with the Move tool selected, I'm just going to click on it and bring it down into place, and then kind of play around with these two layers until I get them where I want them on my picture. Now I don't want these decorative elements to take over the focal point of my picture, so I'm going to decrease the opacity just like I did on the tag on this other layer over here. So I'm going to make sure that my bicycle layer is highlighted over here in the layers palette, and that's this type layer that says S. And I'm going to set my opacity to 60. So I just typed in 60, or you can do the drop down menu over here and you can use the slider and kind of play around with it until you get what you like. And I'm also going to do the same thing with this arrow layer. So I'm going to select the arrow layer and set my opacity to 60. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out by doing the Command minus or Control minus if you're on Windows. And I'm going to add one more thing with my text tool down on this bottom right hand picture. So I'm going to zoom into that picture by doing Command and plus or Control and plus if you're on Windows. I'm going to click on this picture to make sure that my new layers come above this picture. I'm going to select the rectangle tool, which is actually hidden right now behind my custom shapes tool. So if you type the letter U or you click on the custom shapes tool, you'll see that you have different shapes that you can choose from down here. And we're going to choose the rectangle tool. Our color is going to be white. If you don't have white, you can set your white by using the color wheel. And all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to click and draw a rectangle. And I'm going to do another one. So click and draw a rectangle. Now you'll notice in your layers palette over here, now we have 2 new layers for each of these shapes, which is exactly what we want to do. Now we're going to add some text on top of these. So with the top layer selected, I'm going to click on the text tool or type the letter T. I'm going to change over to the Christina font. My color is going to be black, so I'm going to change this to 6 zeros. I'm going to set my size to 32. And then I'm going to click down and begin typing adventure and click on the green check mark. With the move tool selected, I'm just going to move this over my little white strip that I made. And I'm going to make another line of text below it. So select the text tool or type the letter T. I'm going to use the Christina font again, the black color. I'm keeping the size at 32. Click down to make another cursor. And I'm going to type is out there. And click on the green check mark to commit. With the move tool selected, I'm going to move it over. Now I can kind of play where I want the placement of these. And I can also edit these shapes so that they fit a little bit better to my text. So I'm going to select my shape tool for the top one, and I'm going to use these transform handles to resize and also I'm going to use my move tool to place my text where I want it to be. So I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom one. This bottom one's a little bit wider than the top one, so I'm going to bring it down a smidge, bring it in a little bit, and then check on the green check mark. I think I'm going to move all of them down a little bit, so I'm going to select the top layer and the bottom shapes layer by doing Shift and clicking the bottom one, and then using my arrows to kind of nudge these down a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to adjust the opacity on my rectangles by clicking on the shape layer, and I'm going to bring the opacity of these down to 60 on both of them. So I did the top one, now I'm clicking on the bottom one and adjusting the opacity to 60 on that one as well. I'm going to zoom back out by doing the Command and minus, or Control and minus if you're on Windows, and you will see that using just the text tool just added a little bit of creativity to my layout. I didn't even add any decorative cards or anything else to this layout, but it's still got a little bit of personality to it. So I can save this by going to File, Save As, and navigating to where I want to save it to, naming it, making sure it's in the Photoshop format so that I can preserve all of my layers, and click Save. And I can also save a version of it to be printed. So I want to do File, Save As. I can keep everything the same except for change my format to JPEG. Click Save. I want to set my quality to 12 and click OK. Now I can send that version to the printer. Please let me know if you have any questions. You can email me at digital@beckyhiggins.com.